Welcome to PCM Podcast, a series of informative podcasts with experts in their fields, exploring a wide range of topics in payments. The theme for today's session is the future of IoT in the payments market. The IoT payments market is expected to be worth 27.6 billion by 2023, impacting every industry and disrupting the current payment model landscape. Many attractive use cases exist, from electric vehicle charging through to highly convenient walk-in, walk-out shopping experiences, through to sustainable commercial solutions enabled via the sharing economy. Drawing on Worldline's extensive payments experience and research in this area, together with the insights gained through working with their clients and partners, today we want to explore and help you understand the potential of IoT payments in your industry, and to identify the key actions you need to take to position your organization for this future. I would like to introduce our expert for the day, Min Lei, Head of Connected Vehicles and Emerging IoT Offerings at Worldline. Min is a senior expert of the Worldline expert community and an active member of the Worldline scientific community, which plays a key role in enhancing Worldline's reputation as a world leader in payments and as an innovator and thought leader. Welcome, Min. So let's kick off, Min. I think let's start with a reasonably simple question, and will help us get the topic started. What is, in your opinion, the definition of an IoT payment?
I think there is, to my knowledge, no official definition for IoT payments. However, for me, a working definition that we have been using at Worldline until today is we call it IoT payments are payment transactions that are triggered by IoT devices with a certain degree of autonomy. Where the degree of autonomy can range from very simple things like pay-per-use washing machines that triggers a payment after the usage, or it can go up to a fully autonomous scenarios where you have a consumer walk in and walk out of the store. You just come in, grab your things, and go out legally, and the payment is handled fully in the background.
Okay, good stuff. Nice to start off with a definition. So, why would you say that now is the right time for the payments industry and the ecosystem that supports that and the partners? Why do you feel like now in 2021 is the time to start to look into IoT payments?
Right. So I think that's the excellent question. We have seen in the past few years a lot of buzzwords going around, like payment of things, banking of things, and there have been a lot of initiative around IoT payments. But in fact, IoT payments is not something new. In the old day, we call it M2M payments. A classical example of that is toll gate, where you have a black box in your car, and then you could just drive through the toll gate, and it just open up to you, and you drive through the toll gate. However, there's a couple of drivers in the past few years that together have accelerated the IoT payments. First, we have seen a tremendous increase in digital payment toward what we call cashless society. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a very strong shift from cash to digital payment, and together with a explosion of contactless payment. That is the first trend that we see. And secondly, more and more IoT payments, IoT devices are arriving in the market. Today, there are around 38 billions of IoT devices globally, including small devices like smoke alarms or coffee machines, ranging to big devices such as washing machines, connected cars, connected trucks, and many of these devices are expected to be able to trigger quite some volumes of payment transactions. The third one is the arrival of AI technology even accelerate the development of IoT payments further. Imagine yourself having a seamless and pleasant driving journey in your electric vehicles without worrying about where to recharge your battery or where to enjoy a good meal based on your preference. Because everything is taken care of autonomously, and mm, at the end, it's not just about the revolution of IoT payment, but it's about the service revolution, with autonomous payment being integrated as a key enabler into a better service models rather than focusing on IoT payment only.
Mm-hmm. I think it's an interesting, I believe the number you used was 38 billion uh, devices already in the world. And I've seen numbers of that in the near future that most certainly have at least 10 on it. And I think it would be surprising for some people to hear just how many are already in the market. So very interesting. Thank you. Um, okay, so let's talk about the advances that IoT in terms of opening up alternative payment models that are interesting to observe, you know, as well as important for us to try to understand in terms of the fundamental changes that these future of autonomous payments might make. Yeah, how do you see IoT payments shaping the future of payment models?
Yeah, coming from the fintech industry, it's really important to understand the impact of IoTs on different payment models. The big question is whether the classical models, the four corners models that we are still using, will exist in the future. That is one of the key question that we are looking forward to the answer to that. But there are also other things. So I think we could agree on the fact that IoT payment cannot exist without a payment means behind it. And what we see today um, is that there are at least three alternatives. So the first one is card scheme models based on card tokenization. So you could imagine using a credit card scheme and the card tokenization behind to push token into objects, and then enable objects to initiate payments. But at the end, all the payment go through a credit card behind the payments. Uh, the second model is emergent interesting models where you have bank credit transfers driven by the opportunities around payments in the context of PSD2. So there you could also have a scenarios where you could transfer money from account to account directly without using any credit card payment scheme behind. And the last models that we have been looking into is based on digital currencies. So today we see many parties and actors in the market experimenting with IoT's payments linked to blockchain technology, but it's rather a closed loop solution. Um, and I think in the near future, it could evolve into some kind of stable coins that could link to that. So you could have objects using digital currency to pay for services. So in fact, um, looking at the three models, I think it's very difficult to say which model will be the winner at the end. But my belief is that these three models will coexist in near future and even in the future. The key points that need to be addressed is independently from whatever payment model you are going to use. There are three things that you need to keep in mind. User convenience. It must be easy for the user to use. It must be trusted because the user need to trust the device triggering a payment on behalf of the user. And then the last point is accountability. So at the end, a organization or a user or a person need to pay for the services. So that need to be traceable and auditable.
Sure. Sure. It's interesting as well. We're discussing what's in market now, but potentially there's something coming along that is built specifically for these kind of autonomous IoT payments that we don't see yet. So I think there's so much going on and in the payments industry in general, but also so much, investment into the industry that it's possible that if you and I were to have this conversation in perhaps even 5 years, there might be a number 4 on the list of something that we hadn't seen. Okay, so
Absolutely.
yeah, we've discussed around the payment side for the time being. Let's move a little bit to the use cases, because from my understanding, there are lots of potential use cases for IoT and IoT payments. Could you perhaps give us some concrete examples of those that are in market today?
Yeah, so I think this is a very interesting point. Everybody is, of course, looking for the killer app around IoT payment and around autonomous payment. So I think today a well-known example of autonomous payment and IoT payment is the walk in and walk out the store, where Amazon Go has been very successful in deploying such a solution. So in this use case, you have customers just walk in the store, grab some products and freely and legally walk out the store. And here you really already see the combination of IoT technologies and AI working together using image recognitions and frictionless payment, which is fully pushed in the background, that you don't, as a user, you don't even worry about the payment. And I think that is the successful factors of this solution, because it's fully frictionless. You walk in and you walk out, and then you don't do anything, any manual things to conduct a payment transaction.
Okay, and I think that that's also based around the use of biometrics. So again, a sort of supporting technology, looking at face or retina or something similar, where you effectively log into this, or you give your legal permission to log into the store using some form of biometric, and the payment is supported behind that.
Right.
Okay, and then so that's in market today. I guess the obvious question that most people listening will want to ask, and so do I, is what about the sort of most exciting use cases for the future in terms of what you're seeing coming down the line?
Yeah. So today, and even looking into the near futures, I'm not talking about the very far futures. One of the hot topics in the industry today is in-car payment. We see that in-car payment is capturing quite some attention from the automobile industry and also from the banking industry. I think it has also to do with the current development around sustainabilities, promoting electric vehicles and the whole charging infrastructures that need to be there in order to meet the agreement of sustainability that has been signed in Paris. Due to that fact, you see that car manufacturers has been investing a lot in many technologies that help bring in convenience and usability of electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So today, many players in the market, including car manufacturers, energy providers, are implementing the so-called plug and charge, which allows you to just plug your car into the charging stations, and when it is fully charged, you just take it out and you drive away without
Mm-hmm.
having any need to use credit card or some of other payments. And the payment itself is also handled in a separate process. And then at the end of the month, you see what appears on your bank account. And that is one of the things I think that the industries are today working hard to implement these solutions. But it's also the opportunities for combining all the services as well. So you could also think of the scenarios where you stop somewhere to wait for your car to be charged, and then have a meal in a shop and just walk out and then jump into your car and you drive away. So there again, you don't see any payment transaction appearing in the front.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a shame that for those of us that still drive petrol cars, that we can't have the same experience.
Right, but I think if we're looking at the volumes and sales in electric vehicles in Europe and also in other regions in the world, I think it's coming to us very soon.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I mean, just the weight of Teslas on the road where I live, and now some of these newer ones and lots of hybrids. I totally agree. It's been a good movement in terms of greenness and sustainability. So yeah, no, we support that from a PCM perspective as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so I guess it's all good to discuss the new and exciting technology. It's interesting to discuss the new different payment models. But the marriage between IoT payments and financial services and the banking sector, it is complex, and most of our listeners will know that. So, what do you see as the key usability challenges that need to be overcome, and do you have any insights on how Worldline are approaching that, or any other kind of industry players that you've seen out there that are doing it well?
yeah. So I think um, um, the fact that IoT is there is actually it's a technology push from manufacturing industry. Uh, you take for example home appliances, electronics, or the automobile industry. There have been um, a strong increase of using electronics and IoT's capability into all of those devices. Um, it on the one hand, it brings a lot of convenience for the users. So think of a smart kitchen that could manage doing things that you don't have to worry about. A smart ovens that turn on the meals when you are away, and you could remotely sharing your recipes with other users, with families, or looking into the smart fridge, where you could have the capabilities combining new technology that the fridge could autonomously look into the content of the fridge, try to order new food that you need for the weekend, for example, and then of course autonomously paying for the orders. So we see those kind of boost and usability coming from the industry. The key question is the industry does not have the knowledge and the expertise to of the financial industry. For example, when it comes to PSD2 compliance, to bring to IoT payments, I don't think that it is where the expertise is from the manufacturing industry. So exactly there you will see the marriage between the financial industry and manufacturing industry to bring trust and security into IoT payments. And beyond the technical aspect, new business models and ecosystem need to be established. And I used to call it takes two to tango. So um, there needs to be a close collaborations between the business partners in order to create new ecosystems, to create new um, um, uh, let's say killer app and use cases for the end users. Um, and I think that is where the industry need to look at and to try to solve these challenges.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, you mentioned there trust and you mentioned there security, and I think it's timely to at least discuss a little bit of that. I mean, in light of what's happened in the US in the last few days, this cyber attack on the big oil, gas, and various other fuel lines, which has now led to consumers backing up in some cases miles in America trying to queue for fuel. Um, what what do you see as being the potential dangers of IoT for the payments market?
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up this question because we have been talking until now only about sunny day scenarios, right? And yeah, indeed, you're absolutely right. There are potential dangers to IoT payments and for the payment market if you don't take care of a few things. So the first thing is business disruption. In fact, IoT payment is, and more broadly, autonomous payment, which has the potential to disrupt the payment industry. So if you want to make sure, in fact, you want to make sure that you don't risk missing the opportunities, and you want also to make sure that you are part of the IoT payment revolutions, and not having a Kodak or Nokia moment that you have missed something there. And secondly, fraud is a major point in IoT payments. Um, when you are in the game, you need to take care of security measures that uh, you know um, to make sure that security is at the right level. It's always a consideration of how much risk do I have to take with regard to a certain financial value. So that need always to be considered. So if you don't do that, IoT will open many backdoors for fraud and hacks. So in order to mitigate this problem, I think we could think about a security compliance matrix where you go through all the requirements of an IoT device, how to take care of the security environment in the device, and if you shift, the credential of IoTs maybe somewhere in the cloud, you need to make sure that at that level the security is also ensured. So there's a lot of things around that to be done. And the third danger that I see is privacy. IoT devices are collecting a lot of data, and some data are privacy sensitive, and mostly when it comes to payments. So if privacy is not handled properly, you risk destroying completely the emergence opportunities and the new payment market. And maybe the last point that is popping up in my mind now is the chargeback issues. If you at the end in a most fully autonomous scenarios, you would like to delegate the authority to a certain object to conduct or trigger payment on your behalf. And what if that object orders something, and in the end you are not happy with that? What happened to the chargeback process? So it's quite complicated, and if you don't take care of it, you risk destroying the opportunities of implementing the right solution for IoT payments.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's plenty of work going on around the securitization of IoT, isn't there? I think that there is a lot there, but as we mature into the digital world generally, not just talking about payments, these kind of cyber security events keep happening, and I think they'll continue to impact us in many different ways. So it's always interesting, with looking at future technologies, how we potentially guard against those.
During our research, we even came across IoT devices with default password. So sometimes you find out that the default password of 000 is still in there, and nobody changed it, and they have been deployed, millions of devices without any readjustment of default credentials. So that sounds very simple, but you need to think about it to change it, and that need to be embedded in the process of deploying IoT devices.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that that's nothing to do with the machine. It's all to do with the human being. So some work on our side to do as well. Okay, well, Min, look, it's been very pleasurable talking to you. I think one of the final questions that I think I have for you is, it's clear that Worldline are putting a considerable amount of time and effort into the world of IoT. But just for the record, where do Worldline stand in terms of IoT payment innovation?
Yeah, so in the past 1.5 year, at Worldline we have a team of experts across multiple divisions that has worked intensively on this topic, and we have looked at the business trend. We have looked at the technology enablers such as IoT, AI, and blockchain technologies. And then we look at the impact of IoT payments on the payment models. And of course, we have also looked at the potential business cases and use cases. But it's today it's more on the high levels of gaining insights of where we are in the market. In the next step, what we are going to do is to deep dive into the questions and try to find the answer around adoption of IoT payments and autonomous payments. So what is it that hold the reluctance of adoption back, and how to create a kind of network effect of IoT payments and autonomous payments, so that you could combine all the opportunities to accelerate further IoT payments. And I'm very happy to announce that recently we have published a white paper called The IoT Payment Revolution. And if for people that are interested in this topic, you can go to our Worldline website and you can download the white paper freely.
Sure. Thank you very much, Min Lei. That's been Really, really interesting. It's a topic close to my heart. Certainly, I've watched a lot of sci-fi movies in the past, and I'm always fascinated by what's coming down the line in terms of technology. The fact that this is now marrying with the industry that I chose to go into in terms of payments is absolutely fascinating, and I think you've got a super interesting job. So I really appreciate your time today in spending time and talking us through your opinions and those of your company, Worldline. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Alex. It's well a pleasure.